we are talking about TV show formats, and coming up in this segment, I really want to talk to you more about how audience engagement begins and whether it's important to even see people's faces. And then we're going to touch a little bit about on performative presentation as well. So as we get in, here is another bit of research, and this time around it's a little bit more specific because I want to demonstrate something for you. This is a TV genre research and a sample of about 100 people, young people at a college in Carolina, apologies. And what you see there instantly is reality and stuff is quite low. Sci-fi and fantasy begins to bump a little bit, sport probably a little bit, college sport and so on. You can see comedy just shoots the lights out with young people, and that's kind of interesting. There's something else that I quite enjoyed about this research. There was a quote from Christian Dixon who said, "My favorite show is Law and Order because I want to go to college and become a police officer." I smiled, and it immediately made me think I saw research in the early 2000s around stuff that was done in the UK. And do you know that 7 out of 10 youth members at that stage, viewers, actually thought that they would get fame and fortune by being on a reality show? It's startling how in that very gentle space where people are very impressionable, this kind of stuff is absolutely something that influences their thinking and how they go about it. And this is hopefully something that gives you a sense of how very important it is to identify your audience very specifically. Who is your audience and who are you talking to? Now, this reminds me of a favorite moment in a movie, and the movie is The Truman Show. You would know that it's the story about an adopted child, and it was adopted by a television station, and it kind of covers a lot of moral issues around reality TV because Truman was born on television and became so popular and watched that the TV channel created an entire world around him, and until he is 30, he does not know that his life is a TV show. But there is this moment that kind of turns for Truman, and he starts realizing that something is amiss and something is strange in his world. And there's a moment when he confronts his wife of 15 years, and she's an actress who got married, and in the pictures holds her fingers because it's a nix, because she's not really getting married. But all of these people who are close to Truman have fooled him for almost 30 years. It is startling. And so there's this incredible moment that I think about when I think about audiences.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
I've tasted other cocos. This is the best.
It's a fabulous moment. Who are you talking to? It's a moment when Truman realizes there must be cameras in this world. And so this is the question, because it isn't just an audience member who's watching. Right now, I'm imagining that you're interested in speaking, or you're presenting something already, and you genuinely want to do something to change. And because of that, it's a very specific dynamic. I'm also imagining that you're doing this after hours and not in your office while you're all suited up and ready to go. And a lot of people are working from home at the moment. So all of these are elements that I imagine that are part of the audience that I'm speaking to. So the demographic has to go a lot wider than age, sex, or race. You have to start thinking about people's attitudes and be appropriate to what it is that you think they're doing and what they believe and where they come from, because it is what is going to make a stronger connection to your audience. Now, I get this next question a lot, which is people who really want to see their audience, particularly in Zoom webinars. They do want to see all the faces. And I have a note or two about that, because I do think that you could be distracted by those faces. You know, in television, presenters have worked for years without knowing specifically who the audience is out there. I mean, in later shows, reality shows like Idols and those obviously give you a sense because you get SMSs and live feeds coming in. But by and large, it's you and the audience in that studio, and it's locked. And you have to give your best performance no matter what. I have found some of my best webinars have been webinars for just 2 or 3 viewers, but I gave it all my heart because that is the moment when your true connection happens, and that's the moment when you really build empathy and build your connection with your audience. And so I think that if you go and look at this, you probably have to think about what your audience is doing right now, but do it in your mind's eye. Be time appropriate, be topic appropriate, and tone appropriate, so that you are always respectful of the audience that's tuning in. You're always grateful that they're there and they've taken the time. And because of that, it needs your best performance no matter what. And I would say that you probably are going to be distracted when you see 50 faces at a time and 2 or 3 blocks are busy tuning out and working on a phone or busy talking to somebody off camera. That kind of stuff can distract you and you can trip over because it can really get you off track big time. Let's go and talk a little bit about the value that you add. I think this is where one should think. Your key message. Think about the few clear moments that you want to land and make sure that you know what you want your audience to do next. What is expected of them? And of course, while you're busy thinking through your talk and you're busy working, you have to work with the repeatable moments because those are the ones that you know your audience is going to tell somebody else about. And that's why we do speak and that's why we do present our work, because we want to help the world to get to be a better place. Well, that one works for me. Let's go and talk about what is performative and how much performance you have to put into something. So first of all, I'd say performative is a word I like using because it's relating to artistic or dramatic performance, but it doesn't necessarily mean Shakespeare. If you're going to look at a really spectacular performer in Meryl Streep, who's won all of those accolades, there are moments that Meryl Streep can create in any character that are very real, but it is a performance. We know that this is Meryl Streep, and this is the character that she portrays, whether it is the evil boss or the French lieutenant's wife, whichever character it was that she's going to create. So being performative is possibly just being a little bit more on and a little bit more energetic than you normally would be because you're trying for that energy to get through the camera as well. And so it is possibly performative. If anything, this is an idea that you can hang on the board as well, which is a quote by Meryl Streep who says, "What makes you different or weird, that is your strength." And I kind of like that because it says, go for what it is that is real and that is you and that you feel comfortable with in presenting, because that is what will make the connection with your audience. So if you're going to sit down, decide to sit down. If you want to stand, test that a little bit. See what your movement is like on camera. Always be critical, but have fun with what you're doing because it has to be a version of yourself, and your audience will make a better connection if it isn't acted or suddenly Shakespeare or some other character, because the performance of that would be very difficult for you if you're not a professional actor. Let's go and look at some exercises. I'd like you to do this one, to think a little bit about your audience, the exact profile, if you like, of people that you're going to be presenting for. So this exercise is really something that just helps you to describe a typical audience member, perhaps think through their beliefs, their attitudes, and it's always handy to keep this up somewhere so that you can take a look at it while you work your material, your slides, and go, which ones are the ones that are going to be building empathy, which ones are the moments that are going to make a connection, and how I'm going to take this as a value add to my audience so that they have a good takeout and a good experience, because if they have a great experience, there's a better chance of repeatability.